Question number 19 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 4. The author of the passage would most likely consider the information in chart 1 to be. So we need to care about what the author of the passage. The author believes chart 1 is what? Let's figure this out. Let us figure this out. Chart 1. 2010 population shares by metro size. So we care about how big the city is and population share. So most people live in large metropolitan areas. 18% of people live in small metropolitan areas, and 16.4% of people live in non-metropolitan areas. Okay, that's where the population is. I don't know what the author would think about this. Let's look at the answer choices. Excellent evidence for the arguments made in the passage. I don't think that this tells us much of anything, does it? Oh, maybe that's what they're trying to get at. That this doesn't say much of anything. This is just telling us, okay, where does the population live? Small, large, or non-metro areas. But isn't this piece all about demographic inversion? Isn't it about the flow of people and the types of people and how cities change? And I actually remember that the guy talks about how he doesn't like raw census numbers. He thinks that they're blunt, ineffective tools for measuring demographic inversion. So I don't think that this guy would think this is excellent evidence for the arguments made in the passage. He would actually think that it's garbage evidence because it doesn't tell us much of anything. Not like in A. What about B? The author would think the information in chart 1 to be possibly accurate, but too crude to be truly informative. Crude. Crude means that it's almost, oh, maybe that's the synonym for blunt. He thought it was a blunt tool. Where was that? Let me find that. Oh, line 11. But when it comes to measuring demographic inversion, raw census numbers, right? Just the number of people in a certain city, whether or not the city grew in population or shrunk, this is an ineffective and blunt instrument. So maybe the information is possibly accurate. I'm not a fan of the fact that we're casting doubt that it's possibly accurate. Like maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. It's like, I don't think we can doubt that. That's a small sticking point of mine. But too crude. I like that it's crude because the guy literally says that it's a blunt instrument. It's almost like a dull knife when you're doing surgery. It's too crude to be helpful or informative. I like B. Yeah, I have some reservations about it. What about C? Compelling, but lacking in historical information. This is a good, bad, smart answer. Like if you pick this, you're too smart for your own good. Compelling. It's like, yes, it's very compelling. This is a very compelling chart, and it tells us important information. But I would like to see the historical information surrounding it. It's like, okay. No. Why do we care about historical information about this? Because the guy says, regardless of the historical information, when it comes to measuring demographic inversion, the raw census numbers are ineffective and blunt. He's not saying, well, census numbers are good, but only when we have historical context. That's like a BS answer. What about D? Representative of a perspective with which the author disagrees. Representative of a perspective. I don't know if he's disagreeing with this perspective. Is the information in chart 1 representative of a perspective which he disagrees? Even though the guy thinks that census numbers are not good to measure demographic inversion, is he like anti-census? Is he saying like, no, all this is wrong, it's not good, and I disagree fundamentally with the measurement of population and the share of where they live? I feel like D is going a little bit too overboard, and D is very tempting. This is a very hard passage, actually. There's a lot of landmines in this passage, because after battling A, B, and C, and you're kind of confused, and maybe you think it's B, you see D, and you're like, whatever. Yeah, doesn't he disagree? He thinks that census numbers are bad, and that's like what you cling on to. But his argument is a little more nuanced than that, and his argument certainly doesn't center around his belief that census numbers are just wrong or incorrect or just like not good. He says it's not good measuring demographic inversion. That census numbers are blunt instruments for measuring demographic inversion. So maybe it's correct, like he said, but it's too crude. It's too meaningless. It's too bland and blah for me to make any sense of what it means. This is a hard question. The answer to number 19 is going to be B. Be careful about D in terms of going too hard and too extreme by saying like, yeah, it's representative of a perspective which he disagrees. No, he doesn't disagree about like census information. Answer again to number 19, B.